I'm Guy Cocker, and this is my review of Splinter Cell Blacklist. It's available on PC, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and I tested the Xbox 360 version. In my opinion, Splinter Cell Blacklist does a decent job of combining stealth and action, but it doesn't do much you haven't seen before. Splinter Cell Conviction, the previous game in Tom Clancy's long-running series, was divisive among fans. Some loved the fact that it saw Sam Fisher going rogue and being stripped of his high-tech gadgets, while others bemoaned its focus on action over stealth. Splinter Cell Blacklist, the 7th game in the franchise, I think will satisfy most people, with a return to stealthier gameplay coupled with the action-orientated mark and execute feature from Conviction. Blacklist also sees the introduction of strategic role-playing-esque upgrade systems and an improved animation system that makes Sam Fisher more agile than ever before. The story is typical Tom Clancy fare. A group of radicals threatens the US with a series of attacks known as the Blacklist, unless it pulls troops from 154 foreign countries. The president therefore recruits Sam Fisher to set up a new covert cell called 4th Echelon and gives him and his team carte blanche to do whatever it takes to stop them. The script is pure hokum, to be honest, but it's presented at such a breakneck speed that it resembles the TV show 24, which is a good thing in my opinion, complete with its ridiculous terrorist schemes and over-the-top torture and violence. I particularly like the antagonist, who goes around being brutally evil while sounding exactly like posh British actor Hugh Laurie. While it's often difficult to keep track of what you're doing on any particular mission in Blacklist, the assignments themselves are memorably spectacular. In one mission, you're tasked with breaking into an Iranian government building, and then in the next you're tasked with breaking out of Guantanamo Bay. It's a proper globe-trotting adventure, with Sam Fisher racking up the sort of air miles that would make even James Bond envious, and the main campaign is a decent length, taking around 8 to 10 hours to complete on normal difficulty. Sam Fisher's new setup means that he's got a mobile counter-terrorism unit operating from a custom-built jet in the sky. This introduces a new strategic gameplay mechanic that takes place between missions. You wander around your ship making upgrades, talking to your staff, and choosing the next mission from a giant map. If this sounds familiar, it should. It's a blatant rip-off of the Normandy setup from the Mass Effect series. However, it works from a gameplay perspective, as you really have to choose where you're going to spend your limited resources. However, when you earn money by performing actions in the game, including taking out enemies and even dogs, the US government pays you money. When the US government is paying you money to kick dogs in the face, it feels a little bit forced. There are a lot of optional extras in Splinter Cell Blacklist. Each of your 3 team members has 4 side missions that you can play either alone or in co-op, although some of them are co-op only. These challenges are pretty varied. You can break into a mansion and hack into a security system, for example, or face off against wave after wave in a horde-like mode until you can be extracted. Splinter Cell Conviction, the last game in the series, was perhaps a bit too action-orientated for many fans of the series, so they'll be pleased to know that Blacklist defaults to a more stealthy approach. You're encouraged to sneak around where possible, but you do have enough skills and gadgets to make it fun and engaging to take down enemies from the shadows. The game also offers plenty of alternative routes through each of its maps, so that staying concealed isn't usually a chore. If you do happen to alert a guard though, you can usually fight your way out of that scenario, or just run away and retry your approach later. Sam Fisher is essentially like Batman from the Arkham series now. He's better off in the shadows, but he can still hold his own in a combat situation. The game even categorises your playstyle at the end of each mission, awarding you points in 3 categories across Ghost, which means you've been stealthy, Assault, which means you've been shooty, or Panther, which means you've been a mixture of both. Michael Ironside has been replaced by Eric Johnson as Sam Fisher. Ubisoft's reasoning is that they needed a closer physical resemblance to Sam Fisher so that they could capture his body, face and voice all in one package. Sadly, where Ironside gave Fisher a real distinct sound, Johnson sounds just like every other male video game action star around at the moment. It doesn't help that at one point in Blacklist, Johnson has to adopt a gruff voice to play a poison Fisher, which demonstrates just how much Ironside is missed in this game. In this game, Sam Fisher is much more agile than he's been before, running around and scaling buildings like Uncharted's Nathan Drake. This athleticism is usually in service of the game's stealth gameplay, to be honest with you, so you're allowed to traverse buildings and obstacles and avoid conflict where possible. However, the game does steal quite liberally from many other games, including Call of Duty and its airborne gunship sections, and it even has a couple of first-person shooter sections as well. While Blacklist is generally better than Conviction, in my opinion at least, there are some areas where it falls down. The characters are one-dimensional caricatures, especially the rent-a-geek computer whiz, and they're difficult to care about even though you've got the option to talk to them in between each mission. The difficulty curve is generally well judged, but the final level is a mess, a procession of high-level guards, drones, and security cameras that conspire to halt your progress through an unimaginatively designed building. The final level also introduces a series of incredibly frustrating laser trap puzzles that turn Sam Fisher into Catherine Zeta-Jones from the movie Entrapment, and it's all a bit ridiculous. Splinter Cell Blacklist is a game that finally, in my opinion at least, nails the ratio between stealth and action. It does steal a lot of ideas from elsewhere though, while doing very little new of its own. It's an enjoyable game, but not one that's going to set the world on fire, and in my opinion there are more exciting and better games out there at this point in time. I'm Guy Cocker, and this has been my review of Splinter Cell Blacklist, which is available on PC, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 on August 20th, 2013 in North America and August 23rd in Europe.